where we talk about everything Cowboys. My favorite team, your favorite team, America's team. Here with your host, Coach Marv.
Cowboy Nation, how are you doing today, man? I just came to step in, man. I had a day off today, here, and usually don't do a live early in the morning. I consider this being early in the morning. We hadn't got to 12 o'clock yet. We 10:30 on this side, and I just wanted to reach out. You see a lot of stuff that's coming out for me. You see a lot of posts that I got coming out, some shorts that coming out, just branching off of some of my shows that I have done. Trying to get out there, get some stuff out there in the out there and see how things go, and see, give people a lot of shorts of some of the stuff. And if you click on those shorts, you click on those videos, it'll lead you into some of the stuff that we've been talking about. And we've been talking about a lot lately about philosophy, direction, and I've been talking about a lot lately about what it's going to take to put together, to start the process of working to get towards getting better for next year, and riding some of this momentum that we have with this new coaching staff, new defense, new year coming up, and to try to get there. But I had a very interesting conversation on yesterday, and that's what made me so eager to get out here today. And I wanted to illustrate that point. And I came out a little early to illustrate that point. We're gonna see if we can, as people come into the room. Um, the point that I was talking to someone about, and I think uh, ran over this a couple times in some of my other shows. Um, Someone told me that, um, he said, "Coach," we were talking about doing. He said, "Man, it's a groundswell with a Cowboy Nation. Is that, man? Our offense is going to be uh, great, man. We just need a defense to get a little better. And man, we got Pickens, we got Lamb. Man, we gonna be just dominant on offense." And you see what my title of this show says, that the running game is going to be needed for this offense to evolve to the next level. I think Schottenheimer said something about the evolution of this offense to get better. And he, I understand his coaching experience is like I know as well. Things that you did last year, the tendencies that you had last year, a lot of stuff that you depended on based off a new offense that worked really well last year. A lot of those things is going to be the focus of the new defenses that are going against you, that they're going to try to take those things away. And if you don't evolve into something else, or get better, or get more sound in what you do, you're going to struggle. And I look, as I look at our offense, and I look at stats. Stats said one thing. Stats said that we ranked, I think, in the top three in offense. Stats says that we had periodically of time that we looked really well on offense. But when you go back and watch film on our offense in games, there were times that we were bogged down as an offense. There were times that we were not consistent as an offense. So what? Why would I say the running game is going to be important? If you had success, we're going to go over some things today so we can try to learn something. And then we're going to learn something about our fan base. And I'm not ripping our fan base, but I've had conversations with other content creators, and I have said this for many years. Because if anybody's who's been following me ever since I came on the scene with my first video with with great boss Cowboy Sports, that gave me my first opportunity to come on one of his shows to talk about Kellen Moore back at that time, about Kellen Moore in the running game. And I have been talking about that for the last 45 years about how important the running game is setting the table, and also in Dallas Cowboy history, in Dak Prescott history, how well he has done with a quality running game. And I have said for a many years, the reason why our organization does not sometimes give a lot more credit to the running game, and in the recent past go out and say we're going to do things to enhance this running game and make a big time effort about running game, is because of our fan base. And that's just plain and simple. I know some of y'all say, well, y'all talk about the y'all get on the Joneses a lot, y'all, and I do as well. But one thing the Joneses do for y'all, the Joneses check the algorithms of their fan base, and they know that their fan base is not a fan base that wants to run the football. Even though being a physical football team and being led by the run is probably won 5 Super Bowls for them. But we still don't want to do it that way. Even though some of our quarterbacks that been very successful here had very great running games. I mean, I remember Tony Romo's best years when the Marco Murray was killing the running game. Didn't take away from Tony Romo doing great things as quarterback at all. But two things that we don't like in Dallas, that we don't talk about as a fan base, and we really don't hop on as a fan base. And the two things are, we don't hop on about being a great defensive team and being a dominant defensive team. We don't go crazy about being a very physical running football team that not just a run the ball all the time, but a physical team that can run against anybody and throw great weapons and strike big in the passing game. We don't do that. We are a fan base that is predominantly said that we want to put the ball in the air. And I go back again, and I said this on one of my last shows. I remember going to my first game in Dallas, my first football game in Dallas, my first chance I got a chance to go to a game in Dallas. And my first opportunity to go to a game in Dallas, I went to the game, the Green Bay game. And in the stands, while I sat in the stands, and we had the offense was putting up numbers. We were driving the ball, and I was talking. You're talking out loud in the stand. I'm like, continue to keep the running game going because that slows the pass rush, and then we're gonna be able to get anything we want in the passing game. And as I said about that, and as we got 4 or 5 yards in the passing game, a multitude of fan base around me. I'm talking about just about all the fan base because it was a packed house. All of them kept saying, man, we need to put that ball in the air, put it in the air, throw the ball, forget the running game, pass the ball. And when I walked out of that stadium, even though we was just a tie game, but when I walked out of that stadium, It confirmed what I have been saying for a long time. We don't want to run the football unless we run for 35, 40 yards. But we don't want no commitment to the running game. And commitment to the running game and getting the running game better this year is going to be the key. Could y'all hold on 1 second, please? Sorry about that, people. Always, when you try to do something new, man, you always got people coming in and disturbing your peace. But getting back to what I was saying, we don't want to run the football, and it has been a product for us to be. If we ran the football, it's a product for this to be a very successful offense. And for this coming year, we're going to need that. And let me explain why we're going to need the running game. Every year, every year, everything resets. Yes, you have a basis about how you came off last year. I know a lot of people say you came off last year. This is what you do last year. You got momentum going into this year. You had a good offense the year before, so you're going to go back and you're going to do those same things. That's not the case. Every year, something built on. It even happens during the year. I was discussing this with a friend of mine. He was telling me about Pickens and everything. And this is what I'm about to say about Pickens. It's the truth. It's no disclaimer to Pickens. I think Pickens is going to be able to get better from it. But do we remember during the middle of the season they talked about Pickens and about he had how many yards he had with slant patterns? They did a thing on SportsCenter because people started to notice it. And Football Network talking about how he getting all these yards. And then at the end of the season, the last 3 or 4 games at the end of the season, teams didn't let him have that. And then when he tried to go inside, there was games that we were talking about on the live stream saying he got to go in there tougher to get that because they wouldn't allow him to have that. So he had to evolve to do something else. This is how the football works. Other guys are great athletes and great players themselves. I've heard Luke Tate say something on Twitter the day of in the last couple of days because they're discussing some of the same things I'm talking about the running game, and they talked about Schottenheimer as an offensive coordinator. Where every year when he's an offensive coordinator, he starts off his first year as a new offensive coordinator. He has a great year. And then there's a regression after that. There was regression in Seattle. Where was the regression in Seattle? I had to go back and look. Where did he regress when he started out so well in Seattle? He started to regress in Seattle when he went away from the running game and went to more than Russell Wilson cooking. And when he did that, the play of their team and their offense went down. And this is what I hope Schottenheimer learns from that experience in Seattle. Don't go away from the running game because you get to the point saying, well, I'm gonna let Dak cook. And see, when I say that, some of y'all wait to hear that because y'all want to jump on and say, oh, Dak is not that guy. But when you add more pressure unnecessarily and not let him just control the game, and you just forcing the control on him in any quarterback, you causing for to get out of rhythm. What we're going to need more this year is we're going to have to set a physical presence to be able to impose our will on teams for our offense to be even better this year, more efficient. See, there's a difference between being efficient and having a top rank offense. See, efficient means I've got a consistent offense. There's very little lulls in our offense. Yeah, we're going to get stopped some series, but we don't have a lull. We have a consistent effort. We are going to be able to move the ball consistently. We're being able to score points. I don't care if it's touchdowns or field goals, but we're going to be consistent. And whatever you try to stop, we're going to be able to adjust. We're still going to be able to oppose our will to get you into our tempo. And the only way you impose your will of an offensive will is physicality. There's no imposing your will by doing it finesse. And we're going to need the running game to set the table of getting the tempo we want, which will make Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Fournette, uh, your tight end, everybody on your defense, on the offense, even better. Because the conversation I had with the rest of these Cowboy fans, we're setting ourselves up for overconfidence in our offense, of a lack of adjustment, a lack of saying we're going to just go out there and be good, be outstanding. And if it doesn't start off well, it's very easy we can lose confidence in it. And then things can start spiraling. We have to respect the game. And what I mean by knowing Schottenheimer having to respect the game, he understands that his offense must evolve into a more efficient, stronger unit. And it's going to have to depend on the running game. And this is why the content creators of Boss Cowboy, a lot of these other people, where we've had it, that they're the ones, along with me, that have that's come up with the fact about where is our running back to? Is it? And I'm not saying that you can't get it out of the guys that's going. But I don't see the guys that's going. Could they be starters? That's what we talk about when we talk about running back too. Can the guys that we got be starters? And in this league, you don't want a guy that's being your running back too that you know he can't start. He cannot be the guy to be a starter. Because what if the guy goes down? You got two guys that may be following him that's not starters. So now you have no starter. There's nothing wrong with being a running back too, but he can't be a starter. And at this particular point in time, we don't have no confidence in the next guy that he could be a starter. Now, I'm not saying might not be a okay number two, but if number one goes down, where does your offense go with the running game? Now you scratch that and you say we go more to the passing game, which you are setting yourself up for failure. Now, let's say why that. And that's true too. That was a great comment. It's going to help you. And we're about to go into why the running game is important and what it does for defenses and what it does for the other defense. I try to get Cowboy fans to understand this. I ask the people in the chat, and anybody watching this, every time that you see a defense, every defense in the league, every defense in college, every defense in high school, every defense in the pros, every defensive coordinator, when they talk about their philosophy of their defense, what's the first thing that they say you got to stop? Every defense says the first thing you must stop is the what? The running game. There's not a defense I've seen a coordinator go out there that talked about his fly. I have never seen a defensive coordinator say, well, the first thing we got to stop is the passing game. Because everybody that knows football, everybody that plays defense, everybody that coaches defense knows if you cannot stop the running game consistently and a team can impose their will running the ball on you, or they can gas you with running, or they can control the line of scrimmage, that sets them up to do anything else they want to do. The art of play action pass started in the beginning of football, and it still works more now than it worked any other. If you chart the passes that go deeper down the field, I will guarantee you 60 to 70% of big plays in the passing game are, or maybe 70 to 80% are all play action passes. And why are they play action passes? Because play action passes come off some form of faking the what? The run. So if all the defenses, if ever you heard a defensive coordinator says stopping the run is first and foremost into the start of them having a good defense, why in the world would an offense just run away from that and not even try to impose their will running the ball? Because if I can run the ball, they're already telling you that I'm in the advantage. Secondly, how do the running game helps your defense? If you control the tempo of the defense, you control how the defense is going, you can control the time of possession, as well as I said before, you can reduce the amount of plays that the other team has to run against you. And anytime a defense reduces the plays that another offense has to run against them, that makes their defense better. You can have a bunch of all-stars on defense. If I get that defense and I get to run 80 to 90 to 100 plays against it, it's going to break down. But if I got a good defense and they only allowing 50 plays, you only getting 50 plays to attack that defense, they're going to be like the Chicago Bears of 85. They're going to be suffocating because you're not going to have time to figure them out. They're going to dictate the tempo. So if every defensive coordinator says we must stop the run, why wouldn't you? when you have the ability to do it, you don't utilize the running game to be a very big weapon to your offense, which sets up the passing game to get big time scoring. Again, the great John Madden, the game that a lot of people love to play, when he was doing commentating for many years. Go back and research. He said, you control the game in the running game. You control the game in the running game. And you score in the passing game. I don't think people understood that. You control the tempo and then you strike big with the passing game. The exact same thing. Some people, I don't know if Corey Media, you don't know if he may be a member, a subscriber of mine. He may catch this live stream. If y'all going to one of his things, tell him Coach Marv referencing him on this. Corey Media is a boxing guy. He was a boxing trainer. He'll tell you control the body, pound the body, control the body. Headshots, knockout headshots are coming. You don't pity pat up there at the top of the head with pity pat shot. Yeah, you throw a strong jab. That's to set up something, but you don't pity pat up there. You go to the head to knock out. You beat the body down. Same thing here. Does that take away from a receiver getting in the Hall of Fame or a quarterback getting in the Hall of Fame because you have a quality running game? Emmitt Smith is the all-time leading rusher. Last time I checked, Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin's in the Hall of Fame. Last time I checked, Jake Nevelchek had a great career in Dallas. Last I checked, Alvin Harper had some great career in Dallas. Last time I checked, Tony Dorsett was in the top 10 in rushing. Last time I checked, Roger Staubach's in the Hall of Fame. Last time I checked, Drew Pierce was in the Hall of Fame. Tony Hill should be a Hall of Famer. Billy Joe Dupree should be a Hall of Famer. Last time I checked, Terrell Davis with the Denver Broncos is in the Hall of Fame with Greg Hill. But John Elway still got his passing yards. Shannon Sharp still got in the Hall of Fame. So just because you got a quality running game, that means your receivers can't cook. What it does mean is the combination of the two makes you very hard to stop. And this is why I say the offense has to evolve this coming season, and the running game, getting it even more efficient, is going to be the emphasis to evolve this offense to make it even more deadly and more consistent. And we did address running back too. We had a chance to address running back too. We had to pick in the third round or the fourth round. Arkansas running back was on the board. The Denver Broncos, who has Bo Nix as quarterback, a very good quarterback, probably would have made a Super Bowl if Bo Nix would have probably win the Super Bowl or been to the Super Bowl if Bo Nix didn't get hurt. A lot of people saying Sean Payton is his quarterback, his coach. Everybody loves Sean Payton to pass the ball, but people don't understand that Sean Payton did not win a Super Bowl. When he won a Super Bowl in New Orleans, let me give you a stat that y'all not gonna like, that y'all ain't gonna understand. With the great Drew Brees in New Orleans and Sean Payton, his quarterback, his coach and quarterback coach, they won the Super Bowl that year, and they had the best running attack in the NFL with 2 running backs. And ever since they didn't have a greatest rushing attack, they never got back to another Super Bowl. Matt Ryan Let me give you another interesting fact. See, nobody want to talk about it because everybody we talk about this is the passing league. But being able to control the line of scrimmage and have quality running games is what you win in football. This lie about, oh, it's just a passing game, that's a lie. Because the stats of winning does not back that up. Matt Ryan got to the Super Bowl with Dan Quinn. Don't you know they led the league in rushing as a combined rushing attack? And Matt Ryan was MVP, I think. And then they got into the Super Bowl and decided to get away from the running game when it was up by 28-6 and lost. And don't you know Julio Jones was on that team that had that great running attack? Did his stats suffer? These facts, man. And now we have an opportunity with two beasts as wide receivers. And if we can get more efficient and more physical with the run game, do you know that we're going to unleash those guys to get? Because what people say, what scares a defense coordinator first? If every defensive coordinator y'all have seen, every time they go on that podium, every time they stand up there, the first thing they all will say, we got to stop the run first. And if you got a team that can impose their will, running the ball, where does that lead them? What if you take away your first, if you take away anybody's first uh mandate of being successful, you take that away from them. Where did that lead them? Now they're lost. Now they're scrambling. And running back two needed to be addressed because we're going to go into training camp and there's some young guys that could potentially be running back too. But my question is, can they be running back number one? Because there's not no guarantee the number one going to stay healthy all year. I'd rather have me two guys backing up number one that I know could be running back number one. Now, could they be number one like the number one we got? Maybe, but maybe not. But we don't have a guy that's Emmitt Smith. We ain't got a guy that's Walter Payton. We ain't got a guy that's the best running back in the league. And we did pay, and see, this what Cowboy Land gets in when we get tripping. The first thing we say, oh man, we don't pay the man, because we devalue running back so much. We don't pay it. Williams took a deal to stay in Dallas. He only got a 2-year deal. We talking about 3 years, 24 million. It's only a 2-year deal with $16 million guaranteed. They already gave him $5 of that $1 million already. He only got $11 more million in guaranteed in the next 2 years. It's basically a 2-year deal. I said on the show, other show, why we didn't draft a guy in the 3rd round when that guy from Arkansas was sitting there? I thought that was going to be a natural pick. Fast, got burst, speed, come from Jerry's alma mater. I thought that was he took Fielder Jones. I thought it was a no-brainer at that particular time. Because just like somebody made in the comment earlier, your running game was going to help your defense as well. Get two solid guys, dual running back, it's going to help your defense as well. Now you help them with the players, and now you help them with the complementary part to not let them be on the field as long. Now they can even dominate even more. And the second thing I said was, if you draft a guy out of Arkansas and say he got quality to be a number one running back in this league. Now you got a guy for 4 years, 4-year contract. When Williams' contract gets to 2 years, you can come off his contract. Now you got a running back for another 2 years. And now you go get another guy. Duh, you spending less money and you keeping top-ranked running backs in your household without having to spend money. You just trade them out every 4 years. And that's great. That's what Kansas City do with that what the Chiefs do with defensive backs. They bring a guy in, they play him early, they give him, he gets in the second year. By the time he gets into the second or third year, they already drafted the next guy. When it's time when they pay him, they let him fly. They got the next guy already in the fold. You have a chance, Cowboys, to get the next guy already. On a rookie deal. But you know something? We tell our Cowboy Nation that. Y'all don't want that. And the reason why they didn't do that, y'all don't want that. Last year, man, they went over and over. Man, they had last year the biggest groundswell from the start of the whole thing was, man, we need a wide receiver too. And we had people arguing to the depth about getting a wide receiver too. We were going talking about drafting using our first round draft pick, the draft. And I remember we had some people had discussion about the the line of scrimmage and a weapon, and they went crazy about wide receiver too. But we can't get no groundswell about running back too. And it ain't gonna cost you as much as wide receiver too. No groundswell with that. We wouldn't allow wide receiver two be played by Tolbert, and he has given us more production than we done got from Blue. Listen, let me say that again. Last year we wouldn't have let Jalen Tolbert be wide receiver two and he gave us what 800, 800 yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns. We wouldn't allow him to step in the role of wide receiver two, but some of our fan base allow Blue to step into running back two, and he only had one game. He ain't dressed out most of the season, and we think that's all right. Or we going with Marfa that he ain't dressed out none, and we think that's all right. No, we didn't stand on the table about that. And that's sad. And it's going to take this running game to offset the adjustments people making in our passing game. Remember 2 years ago, Dak used to say that cadence he had. What cadence he had? He had a cadence he was doing, and everybody was talking about it. He was saying, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go, and everybody was like, man, that did that whole season. Then they stopped doing it next year. Why? Because it was a tendency. And that tendency, we had to move away from that tendency because people started to adjust with reading our cadence and listening to our cadence. Again, you're going to have to make adjustments. Is Pickens going to be better this year? Well, if he has any disgruntledness with him and he's not, listen, man, it's usually with contract years or team players going into franchise tags and contract years and or contract disputes, it usually don't work well for them having the best year because if they're broke, and I ain't saying broke, but if they're needing this next contract to get themselves solidified again, it's a lot of pressure, man. And with a lot of pressure, outside pressure, it it could be really rocky. I hate to go into this, but I'm gonna go into this, and because I know human nature. Because as a former coach, you got to know human nature. This stuff Dak Prescott going through with his ex fiance, it's a possibility it could have an effect on Dak Prescott. Yeah, that's not an easy personal situation. You got kids by your whole family, all your children by this person. Y'all supposed to get. You can't tell me it's not a contentious type of stuff going on. That's a distraction. And we got to help our quarterback out. You can't put it on him to be Superman every week and throw for 400 yards. And not only the defense, where we just still can't, all the consistency of our offense is through his arm. You're talking about he's getting older. Kansas City, I keep referencing Kansas City. I'm gonna reference Kansas City, San Francisco, and Philadelphia in a lot of my talks. And it's not because I'm loving them, I can't stand them. Philadelphia, San Francisco, I can't stand them. But I'm not stupid enough to not reference the teams that have been very dominant for a 6 to 7, almost 10 year span. And you would be stupid not to copy some of their stuff because you don't, you go against that, you're just saying, hey man, you're doubting their success. It don't have to be Super Bowl success, but they have played in a lot of NFC championship games and on Super Bowls and AFC championship games, not to respect some of the stuff that they have done. Kansas City said, what we're going to do? We're going to take some of the pressure off our quarterback. They ain't going to get more receivers for him so he can throw the ball more. They went out and got the MVP of the Super Bowl. Philadelphia goes to the Super Bowl and can't win it. They come back next year and say, okay, let's go get Barkley. We still love our quarterback, but we're going to take some of the pressure off him and let him be great, but not be the everything. We're taking away from his greatness when we're trying to get him to do everything. This is why the running game this year is going to be pivotal to keeping the success and making the success of the offense even more efficient, more deadly, more productive. Let's say why the running game is going to be important. You have an offensive line that is built to run the football. Okay, let's check this. Let's check it. Let's check them out. What was Phoebe's biggest characteristic? His strength and dominance when he came out of college, his strength and in the run game. Booker, Tyler Booker, coming out of Alabama, Mauler, Tyler Smith, coming out of Tulsa, a mauler. Terrence Steele is one of the best blocking, running right tackles in football. Y'all can talk about his pass blocking may be average, a little bit above average, whatever. But as a running the ball, he's a mauler. You watch your guy on the left tackle. He is a physical guy. You watch him in tape. He's a mauler as well. If you got maulers and they're young, then you bring in your backup guys. They are maulers. Again, why wouldn't you use that? Why wouldn't you try to get better at that? And then allow your quarterback to get all the time and you want when you break off play action and then get them when them sitting back there waiting, get these beats out there and Pickens and Lamb and say, hey man, I got time to throw it because they're already been beat down. Now y'all go out there and cook. And I'm not trying to throw no balls to y'all no 5-yard catches. I'm trying to get you with 20-yard tackles. I'm trying to get you only being tackled by safeties and cornerbacks where you can break tackles and you can stay healthy and make big chunk yards. You ain't got to get no 10 catches in the game. I can give you 6 for $120 and 2 touchdowns. And we can win the games and you can go home and chill and go out the night after the game because the work ain't hard. And we just got to get you on board with the Cowboy Nation. And let me tell you why you ain't on Cowboy Nation. I'm wrapping it up because I got to get out here and do some things. But let me tell you why you ain't on board. Because you have failed for the banana in the tailpipe like this country do is falling somewhere. Well, has fallen for. And the banana in the tailpipe is we're going to always talk about certain things and always talk about is a passing league and blame the quarterback. And you have all the pundits and all the people that don't like the Cowboys always talk about paying the receivers and talk about what the quarterback does and how he can't win. Where it fools you to think that that's the important thing for us to win. And the stuff that's really important, they don't talk about. The stuff that's really important that can stop all this stuff about and get you more successful and not even have this problems with you talking about quarterback and is can he win? They don't talk about that. They very rarely talk about the running game. They try to destroy Zeke. They try to destroy Tony Pollard. But they didn't say, man, these guys can make it easier for this guy. And all the stats says when we run for over 100 yards a game, we win 70, 80%. When we have a couple thousand, we win in games. Nobody talks about that. They want you to focus on how much a quarterback gets paid, how many yards he threw for, how many. They want you to get focused on that. They want to talk about the passing league. They want to talk about all that. And we as a nation gets focused on that. And the essentials that we need to deal with, we don't talk about it, and we fail. It reminds me of how this country is being led right now. A bunch of distractions on stuff that really is not what the real deal is about. And the stuff that they need to be talking about, no. We need to be talking about running back too. But we're going to put it in the hands of a Marv from Clemson. He a Dallas Cowboy now, but every time I hear Clemson, I'll be like, And Blue, that your head coach is throwing an olive branch to you. And that right there kind of got me off of him right there. Your head coach throwing an olive branch to you that says, okay, we're going to depend on you being the number 2 running back and have a bigger role. Let's go out to dinner together and you tell them, no, you can't do it. See, that should have been in him right there. The guy in Arkansas would have been coming in the doors the third round draft, and you got to see how you got to do. Because it's not no problem with cutting the third round pick. Kids do it all the time. We act like a man, well, he drafted the guy. We can't let him go, man. Listen, man. It don't work, don't work. So I'm on board with these people, all the content creators are. Now, there's some other things I'm not on board with because I think we're going to be okay. I'm not worried about this defense getting better because there's a focus on that. There's a spotlight on that. And you got a bunch of guys that this reminds me, and here we go again. I'm doing the comparison. And the comparison, it reminds me of the exact same thing. And what I'm trying to do is trying to make sure that we don't run into the same problem at the end of the season when we ran into this comparison I'm doing. And I finished with this. Mike Nolan's defense was the worst in the world. There was no buy-in. They got a bunch of guys in here with free agents that remind me of some of the free agents we got in here last year that didn't pan out. They had to get off of them. They had nobody continuity. They had people talking about him, about the defense. They was worse. You bring in Dan Quinn. He comes in with a fresh, new spirit. Brings the defensive coaches. Come in and says about everybody buying in. They went out and drafted guys in the first, 5 or 6 rounds. They played those guys. They didn't get no great big free agents from outside. They played as a unit, and they had one of the better defenses. They went from butt naked last with Mike Nolan to the 12th best defense in the league. Somebody tell me what I'm lying at now. And they was in top 10 in scoring offense. Matter of fact, Dak Prescott missed 5 games, and they went 4-1 in those games, holding teams under 24 points. They had that year, they lost both of their defensive ends. See, go back then. That year they lost DeMarcus Lawrence, and they lost Randy Gregory, who was his first year starting, War Daddy. They lost them for 4 straight games. That's why Michael Parsons had to start playing defensive end. Rookie. Didn't know nothing about defense, just being really raw. And they still almost led the league in sacks with committee. Everybody would get sacked. Tell me when I'm wrong. Dorrance Armstrong, all these other guys. And this defense line ain't nowhere close. This defense line is way more star-studded or got more skills on the wall than that defense did. When you talk about Carlos Watson, you had a young Osa, you had a bunch of guys that there wasn't no clocks on Clint Williams on there. But being dedicated and playing their roles and playing unified, our defense was pretty damn good. And this year reminds me that because we got a new focus. We got a guy coming in with new, and everybody play their role. Gary's gonna do good. All these Gary talking about guys 7, 8 sacks. When you put him in this role, same thing. You're gonna get that. You're gonna get that. But what happened in that first year when Dan Quinn got? And this was no. What happened? Who failed us? We went into that year stacked offensively. We had more talent on our offense. I would say our offensive line might be more talented. But we went in, we had Hall of Famers on the offensive line at that time. Tyron Smith and Zach Martin. So we had Hall of Famers on the offensive line. We went into that year with Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, the guy that went to Minnesota, went to the Dolphins as the third wide receiver. Did we have the other number 13? Well, we might have had him too. We had Shooks at tight end. We had a younger Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard and a Dak Prescott. And we get in the playoffs, and the offense not utilize the running game failed us. And I ain't talking about no 30 years ago. I'm talking about what, 22? 21, 22? Do you remember? I hate to use the Michael Jackson phrase. Do you remember? That's the year we get 14 penalties in undisciplined play. We can't score because we won't run the ball. We try to throw the ball on San Francisco. And all the things San Francisco was feared of us running the ball. Because they knew if we ran the ball or we were committed to it, just like their linebacker said. They ain't committed to it. But they knew if we were committed to it, when we was committed we was going to score. Because we didn't give an emphasis on the offense. We thought the offense was set. We just got the passing game out. Again, we had more talent. And as I said in my videos yesterday, we had more talent on that team than we may potentially have on this team. And we failed. Talent ain't all been our problem. Focus has always been it. Going with everybody says, because they will try to get you off the mark. So whoever out there talking about running back 2 that needs to get better, I just don't want to know running back 2. I want a guy that's going to be a starter. Does he have to start? No. But if he does get to start, I need 2 guys that's backing up running back 1 that can be starters. You say, what? Whoa, coach, you need 2 guys? Yes. Because we can't go away from it and be a good offense. Because as you evolve, now it gets to a point that you could be able to impose your will. We got to get more efficient. We got to get more sound. We got to get smarter. We got to do things in a more efficient, tougher manner because people are going to prepare for us. And we got to impose our will. People, as I said, this reminds me of that first year. We went in that season saying, it sounds just like that season. We went in that season saying, man, our defense is horrible. And we went and picked some guys. And listen, man, we didn't put no cast of veteran guys together. We didn't put no cast of all-American free agents together. We put some good players together. And I think the guys we put together now is better than that. Yeah. And we went out and became the 12th defense in the league in the top 10 scoring off defense. Just because, and had injuries during that year. Just because we had unity, played together, sacrifice, and we had a grit about us. And I think that Christian Parker is going to do the same thing. But we got to come back. We got to add on being a gritty football team on the offensive end and allow our receivers to do work. But we have to impose our will physically and dominate that way. It would make the game easier for Dak. Dak would, listen, man, Dak would be MVP if our running game is increased by 10 to 15 to 20%, where we can get two guys. If Williams gets another 1,300 and we get another back with 800 yards, 900 yards like we had with Zeke and them, and we're able to get those carries, that would be MVP of this league. With less numbers and more easier victories and probably more touchdowns. Kansas City offense has went down ever since they went to the Super Bowl. Ever since they had Patrick Mahomes had his first 50-yard throwing 50 touchdown 5,000 yard season. Their offense has went down and their defense has come up. Their offense has went down. The defense and their running game has got better. Ever since that, when that year they won, the first Patrick Mahomes year, he threw 50 touchdowns. They gave him MVP and they got blown out in the playoffs. See, y'all remember that. That was 9 years ago. They got blown out in the playoffs. They said the defense got to get better. Ever since then, the defense got better. Their running game got a little bit more efficient, and they started winning more games and winning Super Bowl. So they got to the last Super Bowl where they got rid of Tyreek Hill. The offense came down a lot more. The defense got even better, and guess they got more solid in the running game, and they won Super Bowl. The formula is out there, people. Same thing with Philadelphia. They brought down their passing attack. They won the year before they lost the Super Bowl. I think A.J. Brown had like 1,700 yards. The second wide receiver, Dante Smith, had like 1,200 yards. The year they win the Super Bowl, they have a 2,000-yard running back. A.J. Brown barely has 1,000 yards. Devontae Smith doesn't even have 1,000 yards. They win the Super Bowl. And the quarterback's the MVP of the Super Bowl. Duh! And when we try to tell Cowboy Nation that, they say, hey, well, you know that is happening. They start listening to some pundits out there talking about the quarterback need to put it on their back. And then somebody point this out to them, they get crushed. The same thing that's going on in this country right now. When you start pointing out facts, they get hushed. But they want to push a narrative that's not the truth. West Coast Cowboy, I don't know, I'm referencing me, I don't know if he's following me or watching me. He put out a show years ago that said the winning percentage of a quarterback to throw the ball 40 times a game is less than 30%. And that's in the history of the game. With 40 attempts, that's in the history of the game. That includes Elway, Montana, Dan Marino. It includes all of them. But we still say it's a passing league. I watched the team to win the NCAA tournament, the football, college football, a physical team. We could run the ball, was a physical running team. Now the quarterback just a throw for 200 or 300, not 250, be efficient, throw touchdowns. He wins the great defense on Indiana. He wins the Heisman Trophy win. They win the NCAA national championship. They didn't ask him to put up gaudy numbers, but they set the table for him to be efficient and do his job and make a play here and there. And we got a superstar quarterback. If we take the load off him and get him more efficient in the running game, we're going to help our defense be dominant. We're going to make the game easier for our quarterback. And then he's going to utilize these two beasts that he got on the outside as really weapons. And then you're going to be feared. Because if the Cowboys go into this year and they start this year and they get really, they really believe in the running game, their offensive line starts to come off the ball like they really trying to dominate in the running game, you're going to put a fear in defensive coordinators that you would never thought that they would say. They would go back. I'm telling you what would be talked behind the wall, behind it was not talked in front of the podium. When they say that offensive line is physical and they can run the ball on us when they want to run the ball on us, there's nothing we can do about those guys on the back end. Out there on the outside. And they buy in. And with a great quarterback, it's even worse. So we're going to need the running game to improve efficiency and effectiveness to make this offense great this next year. And we can't rest on our laurels. This show is basically to let you, Cowboy Nation, to get into the walls of that organization, to get inside those Dallas Cowboys stars, to let these people know, to get on their case and say, your offense was good last year. You have to reinvent it this year. And when people are focused on stopping you, the only way you can reinvent yourself to be able to get that dominance is you have to be able to impose your will on people. And how you impose your will on people? First, physically, and you have to be mentally tough to execute at a higher level. That means you're going to need this practice time. That means you can't have Pickens sitting out. That means you can't have Lamb sitting out. That means you cannot have the fall off in running back. That means you got to be efficient in what you do. And you cannot rest on your laurels. And all this patting guys on the back on this offense, it's time to stop that. And it's time to tell me just do it again. But you're going to need this running game. And if this running game improves from what it was last year, that would be an MVP. Not because of receivers. If this running game improves, gets even better and more efficient and better than it was last year, without Pickens, that would be MVP. Quote me on that. This offense will be explosive. And then some people have to say, well, it was explosive. The running game was good because of Pickens. No. Listen, man. Teams have played two high safety and guarded two guys and stopped the run for years. Yes, they work hand in hand. But also the good running game help Pickens them get plays. It's all working together. There's no one that says, I'm the way. It's they work together and it's about the sum of the parts. If you like my content, if you sharing, that's one of the things I want you to do. Share this content. Share it with your friends. Share it with your groups. Coach Marv, you read my bio. I'm gonna come in at a different angle. I'm gonna come in with a philosophy angle. I support a lot of my other content creators about their things and what Coach Marv is trying to get to the point where I got some t-shirts coming out, but I'm gonna try to get to the point where I can start doing a little bit more video study and stuff like that. I hadn't gotten that good into that realm yet about putting this stuff out there. I probably need to get a producer. If anybody want to be a producer of one of my shows or want to come in and say, hey, we would like to produce one of your shows, or we got the technical thing, inbox me on Twitter, on X, on Coach Marv 1914. Follow me over there on that platform. Follow me at Coach Marv 1914. I got a Coach Marv Real Talk Facebook page. Follow me there. Go there. I know you follow me there. Put a request, a friend request, and you can follow me there. But comment on this video. I enjoy your comments that y'all had, man, in there, man. Speed, violence should make it the offense better. right, too. All this stuff that y'all have been putting in comments and participating in the show, man. I really appreciate the people that rock with me. But we know if you had super chats, put some super chats out there. If you see super stickers, those are donations that you could do towards the do that towards the show. I really need about $40 of donations so I can activate my account on that, so we can try to pour some of those things into our monetization and pour some of the things into the equipment I need to be able to do video stuff. I know my equipment is not as great because I'm kind of shy about using it, but we have upgraded a lot, man. We got a lot of stuff. We got a lot of little bit range. I hope the cameras doing a lot better, but I'm excited about this year. We're gonna branch into some other talking complex. You're gonna see me come on some shows, and I ain't gonna have the cowboy gear on. We're gonna talk about these other philosophies in other sports as well. But thank you for following me. Thank you for hanging with me. Share this content, put this content out there for people to see later on. I gotta try to get out here today and do some things, going on to my church and handling some business at my church. But as I always leave, and I never wanted to pause and tell you, always leaving this. No one, nothing can stop God's will. Make sure you keep focused on that. Keep on focusing. Just keep focusing on what's important. Discernment is going to be the most important thing in these days and time. Discerning what is real and what's not real. Just like we talk about this sports, about this football thing, is the same way in life. We are talking about the Cowboys, talking about discerning, finding out what's real and what's not real, what's real for their success and what's fake and what's not believable for their success, and focusing on the real thing. Well, that's the same thing that's going on in this time, these days and times. We got to focus on what's real. We got to focus on what's going to help us advance and what's right. Sometimes when we hear out there, everybody we hear from and everybody who's talking, maybe not right, but watch what they do. And as I said about the Cowboys, well, they do a lot of talk, but watch what they do. But focus on and make sure that no one, nothing can stop God's will. But you got to be willing to accept when his will is there. Because he's not going to knock, he's going to knock on the door. He's going to try to open the door to give you everything that you need. But he ain't going to pick a lock. So you can't lock him out because he's not going to pick it. So accept your things, accept what's going on. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for hanging with me. Follow these other content, especially the ones that talk about running back 2. Because running back 2 is important. And remember my phrase about running back 2. I'm not saying that Martha can't be it. I'm not saying Blue cannot be it. I'm not saying that one of the guys they brought in the training camp, the free agent, or they can be it. But can those people be a number 1? I just don't need a number 2. I need a guy that could be a number 1 because if the number 1 goes down. I need 2 guys that could be a number 1 because if the number 1 goes down, our offense does not suffer. It doesn't move off of its plan of being physical, controlling the game with the running game, and scoring in the passing game. Because that's what's going to make us dominant. So if these guys we talking about being number 2 can't be number 1, then we got to go out and find them. Got to go out and find them. Until next time, peace and blessings, and enjoy your first day of the week, and God bless and have a great week. Peace.